Don't miss a minute. Listen at your leisure, always online and on demand at radiomd.com. You, the Owner's Manual Radio Show.
Time to welcome in Dr. Richard Besser, ABC News Chief Health and Medical Editor. He provides analysis, medical analysis, and commentary for all ABC News broadcasts, including World News with Diane Sawyer, Good Morning America, and Nightline, many other news and entertainment programs. Got a book out called Tell Me the Truth, Doctor, Easy to Understand Answers to Your Most Confusing and Critical Health Questions, published by Hyperion. Hey, well, thank you, sir, for coming on. We were just talking earlier in the show about how Google soon will be providing nutritional information for about 1,000 foods that we eat every day. And also I was going to ask, with the information we get online now, we go to online different places to find out about what's wrong with us. With these advances of information, are we more informed and are we more accurately informed as medical consumers?
I think that's a great question. There is so much information out there for people to sort through. I think that if you're a smart internet consumer, you can end up more informed. You can get information that can help you make smart health decisions, and information that can help you have more informed conversations with your own doctors. But you really have to be careful and know where to look, because as much good information as there is on the internet, there's also a lot of information that is not well supported. There's information from sites that are really set up to try and sell you something. And all you need is a computer and a mouse, and you can set up a site that looks just as good as some of the really, really important sites. I
think the first emotion we experience when we go to the web to find out about something we may have wrong with us is an emotion of fear.
Yeah, and you can get scared pretty easily. I've had a number of patients who've had medical problems, and they've gone to sort it out on the web, and they've come in and they think they're at death's door, mainly because they ended up at the wrong spot, or they were reading information about a condition that was similar to theirs or applied to someone who had other medical problems that they didn't have. And it can be difficult. Your doctor is often a good one to steer you towards some of the more legitimate sites. I mean, if you have a medical condition, often the advocate sites for that disease can be good places to look for some well-grounded information.
All right, here's Dr. Mike Roizen. Dr. Mike?
Rich, you've done a tremendous amount to promote hand washing. And one of the questions we often get asked is should we use antibacterial soap routinely, or is regular soap and water, or even just regular water, okay?
Yeah, I mean, that's one where it's pretty hard to not get sold something you don't need. The whole fear of germs has led to a major industry that's trying to sell antibacterial everything. And you just don't need that. Good old soap and water has been shown to be just as effective as soaps that contain antibacterial chemicals in them. This is for the general public. If you're someone who has an immune condition or cancer and is under treatment, you may be told to use something with antibacterial properties, and that's different. But for everybody else, good old soap and water, using it for a good 20 seconds, getting the lather and washing it off is really the way to go.
Now, is that the best thing we should be doing in preventing ourselves or our risk of the new flu and the new coronavirus? Talk a little bit about those, if you would, because we keep getting questions about them.
Yeah, so these are two new viral diseases that have appeared on the world scene. The new bird flu has shown up in China. Thankfully, it initially looked like it was going to be taking off and spreading widely. So far, it looks like it hasn't spread very widely. It doesn't seem like it's doing very well as a virus, which is great. The new coronavirus, it's called MERS, which stands for Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome virus. This has people very worried right now in the public health community because it reminds people of a virus that appeared 10 years ago that caused something called SARS. And SARS was a severe respiratory infection It sprung up in Hong Kong. It traveled around the globe. It infected more than 8,000 people. More than 700 people died. And then it vanished. Almost miraculously, it went away. This virus, this MERS virus, appeared about a year ago. And so far, there have been 50 cases. More than half of the people who've acquired it have died. Everyone who's been sick either traveled to the Mideast or was in very close contact in a hospital room or in a household with someone who had. And the concern here is if this virus were to spread easily person to person, whether it could become the next SARS. So far, it hasn't. But I spoke to the head of the CDC, Tom Frieden, on Thursday, and his concern is that we need to be ready. And so the public health community is developing tests for this. It's not something I think that people at home need to worry about. If you're someone who travels or travels to Middle East, you need to protect yourself. If you're a doctor and you're seeing patients with pneumonia and you can't figure out why, you need to be concerned and think about this. And CDC has testing available. But for everyone else, I would stay tuned to the news on this. But I don't think you need to change any behavior.
And so, in other words, the general precautions that we take seem to be appropriate. What about if you're flying over to the Saudi Arabia or to the Gulf region? Is there anything you should be doing differently?
Well, the recommendations they have for travelers, CDC website, their travel website has great recommendations on this. So it's basically those things that you should be doing anyway. Washing your hands frequently to avoid respiratory infections, trying to avoid people who are sick, avoiding contact with wildlife, because so far they haven't figured out where people are picking this up, and then practicing safe food habits, only eating well-cooked foods in case there's any kind of foodborne component to this. And then if you travel to those regions and you return and you're developing any kind of a respiratory illness, let your doctor know where you've been so you can be tested properly.
Now, we constantly or consistently hear about cell phones and the worry about cell phones and cancer. We should use wired cell phones or wired earpieces. What's the data, and what do you specifically do? Do you wear it on your hip? What do you do about that?
Yeah, here's one where there's a lot of concern, and I don't see the science supporting the concern. As you know, there are different types of radiation, and there's radiation that's put out by things like X-rays that's called ionizing radiation that can damage your DNA and cause cancer. The type of radiation put out by a cell phone is not that type. It's non-ionizing radiation. It's more like the radiation that comes out of a microwave oven. It can generate some heat, and so there are studies that show that putting it up to the side of your head can cause heat there, and you'll see some change in brain function around that. But the data linking it to cancer really aren't there. That being said, our children are really the first generation to grow up using a cell phone. When my kids say that they were talking to their friend, 9 times out of 10, what they really mean is that they were texting. So they're not getting the kind of exposure that most adults get when they use a cell phone by putting it to their head. But if you're concerned about this, you can text more. You can use a speakerphone. You can use a hands-free. I'm not on the cell phone that much, but when I use it up to my head. I'm trying to use it less and less when I'm in the car because of all the data that are showing that even when you're using a hands-free in the car, your level of attention to driving is down, and there's risk there from that. But I'm more concerned about the risks from cell phones and cell phone use in cars, than I am at all about the risk of cell phones and cancer.
Dr. Richard Besser is with us. We'll be back with more of some of the most confusing and critical health questions that you might have. Easy to understand answers from Dr. Richard Besser coming up on You, the Owner's Manual radio show with Dr. Mike on Radio MD. Stay well.